What is something you know, but you're not supposed to know? That my not married to my dad mother enjoys threesomes. She's not the most tech savvy person in the world and accidentally posted a threesome request publicly on Facebook. I'm about to graduate college. My parents were teasing me about setting me up on a date with a guy with black hair whose name starts with an M. I was irritated and kept asking for more details, but wasn't given any. Yesterday, I was social media stalking one of my cousins and saw she posted a video of a cute black puppy named Max of the breed my dog growing up was that passed away while I was at college. I had been planning on getting one later this year. After thinking a while about why my cousin would get a dog exactly like the one I really wanted, I remembered what my parents said about setting me up with a guy with black hair and a name starting with M. I went back to the video and sure enough, it was recorded in my parents' living room. Guys, I'm pretty sure I'm getting a puppy next weekend. I actually feel really guilty for finding out that my mother slept with several of the men in the neighborhood during the time my dad was very ill and literally dying. A family member is HIV positive. Doesn't want rest of family to know. When he broke down and told my mom, I overheard. She has passed, and he has no idea I know. I was accidentally given access to all salaries for a large hospital. Finding out some doctors made $80k and others $800k was pretty eye-opening. My great-grandparents were also brother and sister. I don't want to believe it, but I totally do. Spent a day getting drunk with my father, who I'm not that close with, and hasn't really been involved in my life much, even though he lives one street away from me. Found out that the true reason that my parents split when I was 2 years old was due to my mother sleeping with my father's brother while my father was in prison. Also learned that my father used to beat my mother, they both used to do drugs and shady, and also learned that my father had the chance to have joint custody of me, but he didn't bother going to the several court dates that were made to settle the matter. The last one hurt the most to learn. You can learn a lot of secrets when you get people drunk, but some things should just be left buried. My dad killed himself almost 20 years ago. At the time my mum told me it was because he was having gay affairs with people and he couldn't live in that sinful lifestyle anymore. Turns out she cheated on him, and that was what sent him over the edge. I only know this because I was finally able to read a copy of his note last year. My supervisor is really close to getting fired. Upper management isn't supposed to talk about it, but they do. Probably because we'd all quit if we thought she was staying. That my mom tried to have CPS take my daughter from me when she was born by claiming I used drugs while I was pregnant. I was 9 years clean. She tried again when I was diagnosed with cancer. You would be amazed to see what doctors actually put in your medical records. My mom long-term replaced my dad's cancer pain pills with Tylenol to fuel her drug problem. I didn't discover this till after he died, and just 2 months later she died from overdose. Edit. He agonized about how much pain he was still in, even in his final moments. It dawned on me as to why once I discovered them in the bottles with the numbers scratched off. Edit 2. I want to believe differently, because growing up, she always cared so much about our family, and if you met her, you'd think that she was the most kindest and amazing person out there. Everyone loves her. She constantly gave back to others, and even when I'm out in public, people in my town see me and go, "Oh my gosh, you're S daughter, aren't you? She talks so much about you. She's an amazing lady," and they'd tell me a crazy / funny / heartfelt story about her. I don't quite have the emotional energy or guts to tell them that she passed, because then they'd start asking why. She wouldn't have wanted a funeral or for people to be sad about the news of her death, so my family and I have been hush-hush about it. This is the first time I've admitted what she did to my dad, and I feel so guilty about it, but also so relieved. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that she was at the lowest point of depression, something she ultimately had always struggled with in her life, and she suggested that we saw her cousin who had just gotten out of jail. He had been at Pelican Bay for 20+ years. It spiraled out of control after that out of nowhere. I firmly believe he got her hooked onto a variety of drugs. I feel sorry for her. Everyone adored her, including my dad. I believe she made bad choices, not that she's a bad person. It changed my perspective on how drugs affect people to the point of completely changing the very way their brains are wired, and it's soaking terrifying. I won't even take anything beyond a few apples when in the sharpest of pain. If I can take any life lesson out of what happened in the last year to my parents, it would be addictions. Cancer. They took my one fans in my life. That's it. I'm 23 and I've decided I'm kinda on my own. So far, nobody else has loved me unconditionally like they have. It's just the way my story is from now on, I guess. For those asking, to add even more to where I'm now, I know I'm stronger than first expected though. Grief was like a hurricane of craziness for me, because while I was crippled from brokenness it seemed, I also buckled up and got so much done. I only took a few weeks off work at Starbucks altogether to figure out what to do with my mom's body arrangements and hire a lawyer / start probate / become administrator. I went back pretending like nothing ever happened. There are co-workers who have zero idea about my journey in the past year, and they know me primarily for smiling and being a positive person. It's insane how much baggage I'm able to keep in the closet. I got promoted after under a year of being there. I came in second place at my district's barista championship recently, and the judges didn't know me as anything besides a number who was competing like everyone else. I won purely because I didn't let a single thing stop me from practicing and being excited about coffee. I'm putting all of my energy into my job, working on myself, handling their debts, and hanging on to my friends. I'm doing alright, depending on the day. There's one thing cool or uplifting I'd like to bring up that I would love someone to be proud of me for, because my parents aren't here to see it. I eventually would like to get therapy once I can afford it. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. My dad has been growing some apparently fantastic weed for over 50 years now. That's how he made car payments when he was unemployed for a few years, even though he could have worked but didn't. He's got a lot of nice things that are above his employment level. Didn't register why until mom told us who used to be her supplier when she was in her hippie days. Last I checked, years ago, he had the trust of numerous private landowners and the keys to the gates. They let him build and maintain feed plots for deer and turkey, so he can have his own private hunting land and be out on his own. But I'm pretty sure I know how he pays and is paid now. Real country, this place. Fenced off gates to roads you have to go on foot through thick foliage to get around the gate that's blocking the only road in. Good 10 miles from the nearest police station. Some of those plots. As close as he is to the sheriff, I'm pretty sure he gets passes from the law for various reasons. My dad. This boring loner who's never been in trouble in his life. A real square who married a free love hippie. A weed outlaw. That my uncle's son is not his son. His then wife was banging her cousin and boom, baby. To this day, my cousin doesn't know and treats his dad, who raised him, as if he were his own. And had never said a word about it to anyone but me, like because of the lies his mother spread about him. I kind of want to tell him to do a DNA test, so that he'll know and maybe, just maybe realize his mother isn't the saint she made herself out to be. Edited to at, he knows his son isn't his, because he is completely infertile. That when my mother was pregnant, teenage pregnancy, with me she drank and did drugs, because she never wanted to be pregnant with me, and was planning on leaving my dad, which she did a year after she had me. She went to an abortion clinic, but couldn't go through with it. She doesn't know I know, and I will never tell her I know. I didn't find out until well into my adulthood, and hold no hate for her. Regardless of what she did, when she was young she raised me the best she could, and gave me and my older sibling everything she could, and was a hard-working mom. Edit. Getting a fair amount of questions about my health or negative side effects from mothers, drug use and alcohol abuse, while pregnant with me. To answer your questions, I have not had any notable side effects from the substance abuse. I'm a little on the tall side, 6 feet 4 inches, but other than that I'm pretty average with no mutations or physiological problems. HR once sent me a list of wages for everyone in my department right up to the VP. It included my boss's boss, etc. At first glance, it looked harmless, but they had only filtered the list by job title, so I wouldn't see anyone above me. I told my boss, and I'm pretty sure the person who sent it just gotta do Excel better next time talk. That my mum and dad love my nephew who lives with us more than me. How do I know that? I heard them talking in bed. Edit 1 to anyone wondering, I don't really care, it doesn't affect me in any way, and I'm used to it. I have good grades friends, and I'm happy, so yeah. Just tonight, my friend who I haven't seen in a long time invited me to get drinks after work, then cancelled because she was too tired. I found the photos a few minutes ago of her and some mutual friends out for drinks. So apparently I wasn't invited, and she found a better option. She didn't realize I'd see the pictures. For Christmas my stepmom bought my dad a pretty cool custom sports jersey with the number 04. When my fiance asked her what the number stood for, her reply was, to represent our family, my 2 daughters, him and myself, completely leaving me out of the equation. Edit. Thanks for the platinum. The support from all of you is great to hear. You're all great human beings. Never expected to get support like this from strangers on the internet. When my dad died, the associate pastor of my mom's church spoke and talked about how devastating cancer is. That pastor used to attend a different church, but had to leave after she faked cancer for 2 years. Her husband left her, and her daughter disowned her after they found out. My mom was the secretary at that church, so she knew and had already told me, and my dad's funeral was only like 2 years after that. I would have walked up to the podium and punched her in the face, were it not disrespectful to my parents. Edit. It feels so good to get this off my chest. It happened 10 years ago, and I haven't talked about it to anyone except for my wife. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks this is. That my superior officer, who's a massive dick, is cheating on his wife of I think 15 years with the female patrol sergeant in our police department. I could literally ruin his life if I wanted to. Everyone basically hates him anyway, but still I haven't built up the nerve to face him. But if he's being a I might tell him that I know that'll shut him up for a bit. I know what's in my mum's will. My brother gets almost everything 90%. I once kinda confronted her without letting on that I knew I was going to get that much less than him, and she said she would give him a larger share because he was weaker and not educated, whereas since I'm educated, I was going to be fine, even if I got nothing. I accepted it and moved on. Nothing is worth my family, man. My grandfather was self-made, gave my father nothing but an education. He gave the rest land and cows, and within less than a decade they were all destitute and begging from my dad. My father is self-made, and he's given me an education. I will be self-made too. I have a copy of a private investigative report on criminal conduct that the local DA unsuccessfully sued for to use in a criminal complaint. As a result, the subject of the report is still practicing because he was acquitted. I legally can't do a thing with it, even though I know he's still working with young people. I might be a year older than I and everyone else have been made to believe. I was flipping through an old baby book of mine that I found when my family was moving and found an ultrasound dated in August the year before I was born with my name written above it. My birthday is in September and the baby in the picture was very developed, so there's no possible way it's just an early ultrasound. On one hand, my mom is mentally ill and always had attachment issues with me growing up. I know she had issues getting pregnant and treated me like she had to protect me with her life when I was little. It would make sense that she would want me in the house with her for an extra year. I also developed really early, learned to read and write months before everyone else my age, and got my period when I was 10, not super uncommon, but still on the early side. On the other hand, this seems like an extremely difficult and illegal thing to do. There are other possible explanations. Maybe the ultrasound date was misprinted, or maybe my mom had a miscarriage. That would be another thing I wasn't supposed to know though.